seconds until minions spawn.
Freeze, I sleep.
Minions have
I
spawned.
remain focused. As long as it takes. The magic calls to me.
Boom. Headshot.
A rolling golem gathers no rust. Precisely. Spawn is a poor alternative.
Has been slain. First blood. An ally has been slain.
Look, you're leaking. I remain focused.
Headshot.
An enemy has been slain.
As long as it takes. The magic calls to me.
An ally has been slain.
A rolling golem gathers no rust. Precisely. I remain focused. Our steam is escaping. A rolling golem gathers no rust. Precisely.
An enemy has been slain. An enemy has been slain. An ally
I
has been
remain
slain.
focused. As long as it takes. The magic calls to me. A rolling golem gathers no rust. Precisely. I remain focused.
Calibrating.
Shut down. An ally has been slain. An enemy has
As
been
long
slain.
as it takes.
An enemy has been slain.
Boom. Headshot.
The magic calls to me. The magic calls to me. A rolling golem gathers no rust.
Killing spree.
Precisely.
Boom. Headshot.
You remain focused.
Sometimes
As long as it takes.
That's right. It is I.
Turret plating will soon fall.
The magic calls to me. A rolling golem gathers no rust. Metal is harder than flesh.
Shut down. Your team has destroyed a turret. Your team has destroyed a turret.
Precisely.
An ally has been slain.
Such paltry blows.
You remain focused.
You have slain an enemy.
As long as it takes. The magic calls to me. A rolling golem gathers no rust.
That hurts.
An ally has been slain. Double kill. Rampage. Your team has destroyed a turret. Your team has destroyed a turret.
Precisely.
Your turret has been destroyed.
Boom. Headshot.
Bone is your alternative.
Shut down.
As long as it takes.
You have been slain. You have slain an enemy. Your turret has been destroyed.
The magic calls to me.
Enemy killing spree.
Snuck in.
A rolling golem gathers no rust.
Has been slain.
A fine addition to my domain. My attention.
Your turret has been destroyed.
Headshot.
Your turret has been destroyed.
Precisely.
An enemy has been slain.
In my sight.
I remain focused.
Has been slain.
Iron stands eternal.
Your Steve is escaping. As long as it takes.
An enemy has been slain.
The magic calls to me.
Shatter.
Exterminate. Exterminate.
Such paltry blows.
The golem gathers no rust.
Have been slain. Enemy double kill. Aced.
The magic calls to me.
Their eyes cannot find me.
A rolling golem gathers no rust.
Boom. Headshot.
Precisely. I remain focused.
An ally has been slain.
As long as
An enemy has been slain.
the magic calls to me. A rolling golem gathers no rust. Quick in fear, fleshling. Precisely.
Sneak up on myself.
As long as it takes.
All in the wrist.
The magic calls to me.
Watch it fly.
Crumble!
A rolling golem gathers no rust. Precisely.
An ally has been slain.
I remain The magic calls to me. A rolling golem gathers no rust. Precisely. Bone is a poor alternative.
Your turret has been destroyed. Your inhibitor has been destroyed. Your turret has been destroyed. Defeat.
coming in from T1, because when EDG was struggling in LPL playoffs and had to go through the lower bracket, they said in an interview like, hey, the thing that caught us off guard was the aggression, was the pace. This is the kind of thing that we can struggle against sometimes, and that's what T1 have been known for.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's where we see now a further evolution of both teams, because now you're on the international stage. Now you're up against the teams that you're not used to playing. I do hear a lot of praise coming this side of EDG, which is always weird because I think historically you want to talk about T1 as the favorites, but I think the fact of the matter is that they still have to prove that now. And that is in part why this group stage is so interesting to me.
Yeah, it is really, really exciting. I mean, obviously the history is on the side of T1. EDG's history at Worlds has not been so good. This is their fourth time coming in as the #1 seed. They have never topped their group. They have never gone beyond quarterfinals. And they have largely been a team that comes in and has massive expectations and then flops. And they've got to be able to disprove that. You know, the LCK has had so many great teams over the years. Obviously, T1 is the team at the top, and they're going to be looking looking to take down EDG today.
What are your predictions?
I'm the LPL representative.
Right.
LPL went 2-2 yesterday. They need to do better today, and EDG gonna start us off with a win.
2-2, and they need to do better. Oh, to be so lucky, right?
I'll take my one win.
Yeah. What's your prediction?
I have to go with EDG. I just think that their current form looks better. I think that they're a more complete team. T1, is incredible in the early game, but they have more holes in their mid and late game, and we saw that exploited by Damwon. And I think the EDG is a team on a similar level that can do similar things to T1.
And if anything, as a final note, I think I really hope that these two teams bring out the best in each other, right? Because we do see sometimes that newer players can crack a little bit under the pressure, but something tells me that's not going to be the case in this one.
Yeah, no, again, when you have two teams that have faced each other so many times with so many familiar faces, there's a bit of like a personal rivalry in there as well.
Yes. Before we go then, what is someone we haven't talked about that, because I think we all go to Oner because he had a great performance, right? The mid laners, because you have to talk about Faker, but what could be an X factor here that we haven't considered?
I mean, I think Keria has been absolutely incredible for T1 all year long. I do think that, we've seen some pretty astounding performances. So, I do think support matchup can be a pretty big deal here. Mako is not someone that likes to roam as much. He plays more for a lane. So perhaps that could be an X factor.
You agree with that?
Yeah, I feel like just bot lane in general, right? You have two of the most dominant bot lanes in the tournament going head to head. EDG definitely play more around their bot lane, in my opinion, than T1 have shown. But I think even just a 2v2 laning matchup is going to be really exciting in this one.
Absolutely. Action across the board. And whether you're a rookie or a living legend, it is time to face fate and join our casters, Medi and Vedi, to begin day 2 of the group stage.
Thank you very much, Shox. Great analysis on the day, guys. Looking forward to 8 whole games of that. It's a long haul here at Worlds, but we're ready for day 2. And what a banger to start us off, Eddie.
Yeah, I already love the conclusions that people have jumped to after a single day of performances. Obviously LCK, now the greatest region to have ever existed, 4-0 on the day, looking to continue their win streak here against EDG.
I mean, I think a lot of people would come into Worlds generally and say LCK is the greatest region to ever exist. They've won the most World titles.
But,
T1
you say that, but I think that a lot of the sentiment was still that the LPL dominance, you know what I mean? Like, expectations were that LPL are the new kings of League of Legends, all 4 teams. Many people tout being able to get out of the group stage, but it was the LCK that did start with the 4-0. Let's see if they can continue their win streak today as T1 goes up against a long-time rival in the form of EDG.
I want to say it took us 30 seconds to get our first Kings in, so great job on that. It's definitely a European casting desk. Let's get through these bans. So T1 on the blue side, get rid of Scouts LeBlanc, the Rise as well, and then Flandre's Lucian expected in that top lane. I love this. Thank you, EDG, LPL. You're a genius region. The cat is back in the hatch. She's back in the bag. She's banned from this game. No Yuumi here. Alongside that, Lee Sin getting taken away from Oner.
Okay, so a lot of mid lane priority removed from the side of Scout. So it looks like T1's main focus here is to try and get a winning matchup for Faker, or at least something that he's confident on, and then EDG is going to remove the Azir, so one of the comfort picks taken away from Faker. Bit of a shame. I've always wanted to cast Faker's current Azir, because I feel like he plays Azir kind of like you play Lee Sin. He's very aggro, wants to get in your face, wants to use that ultimate, but unfortunately we're not going to get to see that in this game. Instead, we're going to see the Twisted Fate instant lock-in for Faker. So, Twisted Fate obviously very well known for once getting level 6, being able to impact the rest of the map. So we'll see what he's able to do with that. Perhaps their game plan is to try and shut down EDG's bot side, which is touted as one of, if not the best duo bot in the world.
Yeah, Viper very much seen as the best AD carry in the world. Generally, Mako, so much experience on his shoulders. Was actually one of only 2 players on this EDG roster that was there when these 2 teams met last, all the way back in 2017. Then he was on the wrong end of a 0-2 scoreline. Today, he'll be trying to get redemption for that. Graves picked up for EDG in the top lane, though. Oh, could, of course, go jungle. Could, of course, we have seen a little bit of Graves mid, but the expectation is, after Flandre played it yesterday, that he will take it back into top.
Yeah, I think that's one of the great things about Graves right now in the meta is that you can flex it between top and jungle if you so choose. But yeah, primarily I think that it is a little bit stronger up towards the top side of the map, especially as a blind pick, because it seems that many teams haven't found a reliable answer into the Graves top, especially running that fleet footwork. You have so much sustain, you have so much wave clear, you have the dash and the ultimates to add that extra safety. Like, he's a difficult champion to gank, he does well into many matchups, and he does seem to be like one of those those safe blind pick tops that many teams are aiming for right now.
I think part of his power is the flexibility within the build itself, right? You can pick it blind and then you can go bruiser, you can go heavier into damage, you can build more sustain. Yesterday we saw Bloodthirster as an early item on him as well, just for that extra sustain through some of these fights. Sylas picked up as an answer to the Twisted Fate, no surprises there, matching the roam ability with that hijack, and we're gonna have a full top side of the map locked in for T1. Jace up towards the top itself for Kana, and Ono will be taking Xin Zhao.
I wouldn't be surprised to see EDG match that right now, given that we assume for now that the Graves is going into the top lane, the Sylas into the mid. They could just grab themselves something like a Jarvan if they wanted to. We heard on the analyst desk, we heard Lyric talking about how JJ is more of that role player. And right now, I think one of the things that EDG needs is a little bit more engaged. So I think that you have a pretty good dive comp already with just Sylas and Jarvan in tandem with each other. You have a pretty solid mid jungle, but of course, devastating and terrifying Twisted Fate gold card into a Xin Zhao on your face is going to be a very terrifying prospect as well. So pretty strong mid jungles from either side. Mid lane likely to be a big factor as we move further into this game. But now the bot lane is going to be the focus as we move into the second half of the draft.
I wonder if we'll see EDG get rid of the Ezreal here alongside that Thresh, just remove any dashes from Gumayusi on this AD carry. It's not his most played, only a 40% win rate on it over summer, but still something he's very comfortable on. Although I think Teddy out of the two AD carries for T1 would be more associated with Ezreal itself. Misfortune taken away by T1, a pick that was ubiquitous with draft yesterday. Saw it basically in every single game. Very strong after her ult buffs a couple of patches ago.
Well, Aphelios is the other one that really stands out to me because especially when you think back to the finals for EDG, it was Viper's Aphelios in those team fights that was absolutely demolishing FPX. And I feel like that is going to be the primed or the go-to pick, the one that everyone wants to get their hands on. And with the support bans continuing to come through for EDG, this Aphelios is really what I'm keeping my eyes on. Will T1 choose to ban it away, or will they say we have an answer for it? Because right now, T1's draft is very topside focused. You know, you have the Jace, you have a roaming Twisted Fate, and you have a very proactive early game jungler in the form of Xin Zhao. If they wanted to pick something safe, and you assume the Viper is going to go for something like the Aphelios, which is now going to be removed, Ezreal is a very safe blind. So it seems that, you know what, they don't want to have to match up against it. So the question is, what will Viper now go for? He obviously has a very deep champion pool. He's played a wide plethora of different champions. The question is, what will he choose to go for in a composition like this?
Looks like they might be saving it for last pick. Just want to see what the enemy AD carry locks in. There's the Leona, continues that wombo combo composition with the Sylas, the Jarvan diving in. Leona, of course, with the Solar Flare. Teams so well with the Cataclysm. Bit of a volcano of doom there for EDG. T1 now have to look down towards that bottom lane. AD carry, or bot laner, I guess, and support left to pick here. With Braum and Thresh removed, we are falling down that pool in terms of supports. And usually you'd look to something like a Nami, but into this dive composition from EDG, it's going to be very difficult to play a squishy support. Gumayusi here going towards that Ziggs.
So I also wonder if this is a takeaway from Viper as well, just because we know the LPL bot lanes are very effective at these kill lane Ziggs Leona bots, but also offers a little bit more AP damage, gives T1 a little bit more wave clear and a little bit more siege, and while they will lack that consistent DPS that an AD carry can provide, they're going to answer with a Shen support, a very aggressive support. Usually Shen has huge power spikes between the levels 1 and 3, where you want to try and play in the face of your opposition, look for early kills. So perhaps we're going to see a little bit more aggression from this T1 2 versus 2, as it seems like EDG is going to round out their bot side with a Jhin Leona.
I do love the fact that LCK is coming in with a very obvious different support strategy to everyone else. The Yuumi first pick for Damwon yesterday, now it's getting banned away. Here we see Keria going for that Shen for extra protection. He hasn't played it at all in summer, so it's something he's been keeping in his back pocket. Of course, Shen support is something we've seen in the past. It's not entirely novel, but it's great to see these new picks coming out here on day 2 of Worlds. Looking across these compositions, EDG have a lot of strength if they can get their jungle mid ahead. The ability to chase down T1 is very strong, but I wonder if that Ziggs and Shen will put a spanner in the works.
Well, I think one of the biggest things for T1's comp is how well they can play around side lanes, because you think about it, you have the Ziggs ultimate as a global, you have the Shen ultimate as a global, you have the Twisted Fate ultimate as a global, and I think the whole game plan for T1 is heavily invest in Kana, try to get Kana ahead as quickly as you can, and then look to try and play through the side lanes, utilizing Zig to try and match cross map so you can instant wave clear, and you can use the Shen and Twisted Fate to set up 3-man side lane ganks to really snowball and play through Kana. So this very much feels like Kana's game to really pop off from the perspective of T1, whereas EDG, they're looking to get those fights going. They have a lot of utility, they have a lot of engage. Around these neutrals is where they're going to look to fight. So this early game is going to be really important. Can Kana get ahead? Can T1 set Kana up for success? Or will EDG be able to stall things out and get the team fights that they're looking for?
In the LCK, Kana was the key focus for for T1 many times. His Jace 8 and 2 with 700 damage a minute. Truly the epitome of LCK Jace. The question is, can he, with all of the eggs in his basket, carry T1 to a victory through this early game? EDG, very happy to scale up. It's something they did so well through the LPL. The finals, I think against FPX, they were a little bit more aggressive in the early game, but historically they've been a team that waits towards that team fighting point. And when you have double-aided carries, the team fight is very strong.
He is. EDG doesn't have a lot of damage at their disposal. They definitely do have a decent early game, but I think that when you kind of look at how they scale, I think one of the big things for Jin in particular is I always think about him as he struggles into tanks because he only has 4 shots, right? And while those shots hit hard, when you're going up against a front line, it can be very difficult to get through. However, when you look at T1's comp, you're saying, oh, actually, this front line not that terrifying. I think that when you get a 4th shot, that can do a lot of damage to this composition from T1. You only have to be really afraid of the Shroud from Shen. I always forget the name. Twilight Shroud? Is it that one? The one that mitigates the auto attack?
Twilight Shroud is a Kali. Spirit Refuge.
Oh, this is why it's QWE now.
Yeah,
that's why I stick to this.
That's the thing.
Anyway, the thing that blocks auto attacks from Shen is basically the only thing that Viper really needs to be. Anyway, jungle pathing is always funny to me because I was talking to Kadril about this. It's like, yeah, so Oner almost exclusively does a full block into top side gank. And he does it pretty much every single game. And it looks like he's going to do the same thing again. Now, of course, we talked a lot about the draft and how typically he does want to try and invest into Kana early. So it shouldn't be that surprising. But you can see that pings from EDG are coming down. They have information, and because Kumayushi and Kerry are also assisting in the pull, this will give Viper and Mako the ability to get the early push. Meanwhile, JJ isn't going to have a leash, so he's going to solo clear. He's going to be a little bit behind Oner, but it looks like he's going to match, except doing mirror on the other side, top side.
Yeah, the T1 bot lane knew that this is what you buy into when you pick Ziggs Shen on the bottom side of the map. Yes, you can trade, and Shen does have some windows, and Ziggs does have some windows, but most of the time, you're going to be standing back, you're just going to be farming against this Jin. Leona just letting them push into you. Oner was pinged out there on his Razor Beak. Ward spots him, so EDG have full awareness of where the T1 jungler would reside.
Have a quick look at Faker here, because this is what we see often in pro play, how people use their priors to get early information. Unfortunately for Faker, he wasn't quite able to drop that ward on the Raptors, so they don't have full information, but they can be pretty confident with JJ side to bot. The problem for T1 is largely that no one pulled for JJ, so they don't have concrete information as to where they are, where he is. They just likely have a rough idea of where they expect him to be. But EDG have done a really good job of utilizing that early vision. They dropped that early ward onto the Raptors, and then Flandre, using his prior, will drop it onto the blue buff, so they have full information as to where Oner is. And I think that it's in JJ's best interest by playing the Jarvan to actually avoid Oner, because Jarvan in the early game, while you can do a lot of in terms of gank setup, and you do have early damage, an extended trade against a Xin, you're going to lose. So he wants to make sure that he can guarantee himself a Scuttle Crab. You can see that he's done his full clear down towards the bot side of the map, and thanks to the bot prior that his team does have, he should be able to secure that Scuttle as well.
Yeah, as a jungler here, you are so happy for your bot lane. You're like, okay, you guys have pushed it in, just walk up through the river. If you want, Viper can back, he can go buy his first item, and because Mako is there, JJ knows he's entirely safe, even with Scout backing away. So early on, both junglers tracked relatively well by their opposing man. As you said, T1 didn't have concrete evidence that JJ was where he was, but because of the way the waves were pushed, that is to be expected. This is a good little position here from Oner, able to sneak past the vision that was supplied by that ward. It's a couple of wards down into the EDG base, and he wants to reset as well because you don't want to be going into fights when you're at an item disadvantage. He hasn't gone back yet. He would be at a pickaxe disadvantage to JJ if a fight did happen.
But this was pretty interesting, largely because many junglers, especially at the pro level, what they'll do is they'll use their ward early, and then they'll reset, trade it for the sweeper, and then they'll come back out onto the map. Sometimes they'll even just grab the sweeper even earlier so that they can clear out any potential early vision. But Oner held on to his trinket, and then in his first recall actually chose to use it where he expected JJ to actually come back out onto the map, and now he's gotten information as to where JJ is. So now T1 have information as to what JJ is up to. They have to be careful, and Faker is, look at how Faker is playing in the mid lane right now. He's kind of pathing towards the bot side of his jungle a little bit more, respecting that possibility, and so really good information. The person that's in danger right now is Kana, because look at the flank from JJ. He's managed to navigate his way around the vision. Kana doesn't know that he's here.
Wave not in the best of spots for Kana. Either he's going to step up and get a couple of auto attacks down. Flandre could dash forward with the quick draw. JJ, patience. He's like a doctor. He's got a lot of patience in this top lane as he decides not to go for the fight. Flag and drags away. And, I wonder why EDG decided not to pull the trigger there.
I think the main reason was Kana never quite overstepped. You know, you always have that line where you know that, hey, if a player goes past this point, even if they flash, there's still a good chance we can get that kill. But Kana, great patience there because he knows that his jungler's not on his side of the map. So he instead shows that respect. He says that JJ is somewhere around the top side. If I overstep, the risk of me getting ganked is very real. Faker's not level 6 yet. While he does have TP, we probably don't win that 2 versus 2 anyway. So really good respect there from Kana. And so far in this early game, it's just a lot of information trading. Both teams playing around where their jungler is, what information they have, and in terms of the farm, everything looks very even. But now that level 6 has come through, Oner's going to miss the ward in that. But surprised he didn't actually check that. So Flandre is just going to use his ult, and now it's going to get spotted out. So yeah, just overall very safe. You can see a couple of attempts here and there. But now that the level 6 have come through, this is where EDG really need to be careful of what Faker is up to. But remember, Scout can always steal that ultimate away and is able to follow alongside in the event that Faker tries to do something a little bit sneaky somewhere on the map.
The last time these two mid laners met up in 2017, it was Faker who came out on top, but EDG had leads in both those games, Vedius. 10,000 gold ahead in the first one before Faker's Shockwave found them all, and 5,000 gold ahead in the second one before, once again, Faker was able to pull a clutch play out. Historically, it has gone in T1's favor, although EDG did deny the first ever MSI title from T1 back in 2015.
It's kind of crazy. Like we heard Shocks talking about it, right? We're at a point in League of Legends where organizations and rivalries have literally spanned over years. And of course, this doesn't look like a huge number of games in terms to really create a rivalry, but because of the impact that some of those games have had, you know, the fact that it was EDG.
Strength is the only teacher. I do so enjoy explaining things to idiots. A voice whispers in the shadows, though few can hear it. They are 5 steps from realizing I am 10 steps ahead. This is the least of my crimes. Victory. Their blood, the subtle art. After a battle,
Not so
the
bad!
ravens.
My shield is here for you!
An enemy has been slain.
Decisions have consequences. This I know.
An enemy has been slain.
Never make a bargain with a demon that you intend to keep.
An ally has been slain. You have been slain. You have slain an enemy.
It is there in the silence after battle. It is there in me. When their lives flash before their eyes, so do their secrets.
An enemy has been slain. Killing spree.
The old wounds ache. They are reminders. Would they even struggle to survive if they knew what was to come?
Fight, my friend!